All right, guys, open up your review 12.3 to 12.4, the in-class review. We are going to do this together, so do this along with me and then submit it when we're done. And then you will take the quiz in a little bit. So let's just jump in. Number 1 here, it says multiply the matrices to show that they are multiplicative inverses. Okay, so we're going to just do general matrix multiplication here. Top row, first column. So that's going to start out as -2 times 7 is -14, plus 3 times 5 is 15. Then we do first row, second column. That's going to go -2 times -3 is 6, plus 3 times -2 is a -6. Then we are going to move down to second row, first column. And that is going to be -5 times 7, so -35, plus 7 times 5 is 35. And then we're going to move to second row, second column. And that is going to be -5 times -3, so 15, plus 7 times -2 is a -14. So what you're doing here, and I need to see this, okay? I need to see this part of it on the quiz. If you just write 1001, that doesn't show me that you know how to find that they are. It just shows me you've memorized what a multiplicative inverse looks like. So keep that in mind. But this does come out to 1, 0, 0, 1, right? That's what every multiplicative inverse looks like. Not all ones, not all zeros. It's always the diagonal is ones, and then everything else is zeros. Okay. All right, number 2, evaluate the determinant by hand. So 2 by 2s are pretty quick with this. Remember, we kind of cross multiply here. So 5 times 6 is 30. And then just remember, when you're finding a determinant, you are always subtracting. Okay, so it's going to be 30 minus whatever the other cross multiplication is here. So 3 times -4 is a -12. Now this one turns into addition, but what we were doing is subtracting those two numbers. So minus a negative becomes plus a positive. So your determinant is 42. Okay, letter B here. When it's a 3 by 3 and we do it by hand, this is the fancy one, right? There's a lot going on here. What you need to do is tell your neighbor right now what your first step of this process is going to be, the way that we learned it in class. Did your neighbor tell you to add 2 columns? Because that is the right answer. Okay, so we're going to add our first 2 columns. So 4, 2, and -1. And then 0, 5, and 6. Okay, so our first 2 columns. And now what we're going to do is we are going to do the diagonals, kind of cross multiplying-ish, kind of like we did. But it's going to be this diagonal first. So that is 4 times 5. That's not a negative, sorry. 4 times 5 times 1. And then we are adding to that the next diagonal. Okay, remember, whenever there's a 0, when we multiply by 0, it should be 0. So this is 0 times 1 times -1. And I do want to see this process. I want to see how you worked it out. So make sure you're showing me the work on the quiz. Now this diagonal, so this one's going to be -2 times 2 times 6. Okay. So if we simplify that, we get, see how my mental math is here. 4 times 5 times 1, so 20. 0 times 1 times -1 is 0. And then -2 times 2 is a -4. times 6 is a negative 24. Okay, now we take those, 20 plus 0 plus a negative 24, and we get a negative 4. Okay, so that's the first number that we're going to be subtracting with. The second number is going to come from the other diagonals. So, change colors here. So we're going to go this diagonal, this diagonal, this diagonal. Okay, so in pink here, it's going to be negative 1 times 5 times negative 2 plus 6 times 1 times 4 plus 1 times 2 times 0. Okay, now simplify that. So negative 1 times 5 times negative 2 is negative 5 times negative 2, a positive 10. 6 times 1 times 4 is 24. And then 1 times 2 times 2 times 0 is 0. 10 plus 24 is 34. Okay. So those are your two, and then you need to subtract them. So it's going to be negative 4 minus 34 for your determinant, and that's going to be a negative 38. Okay, so that one's a process. I want to see the work. I want to see what you got when I ask you to do it by hand. If you just tell me negative 4 minus 38, I won't give you full credit for it. Okay, show me what you did. All right, moving on. Number 3 here says find the inverse by hand. If it doesn't exist, right, does not exist. You may check this on your calculator to make sure you got the right answer. But again, whenever it says by hand, I'm seeing, do you understand the process to get there? So I need to see you work it out. Okay, if you don't show me the steps, you don't show me what your determinant was, you don't show me how you set it up, then you won't get full credit for it. Even if you tell me that you know the answer because your calculator can find it, right? So make sure you're showing me what you're doing. So on this first one, if we're going to find an inverse by hand, the first thing we need to know is what is our determinant. Okay, and remember, I'll let you think about it. How do you find a determinant? You cross multiply, right? 9 times 2 is 8, and we always subtract. Negative 2 times negative 8 is a positive 16. So my determinant is 2. Okay. Then we're going to set it up 1 over the determinant. And this is where we do our little swaparoo and change the signs. So 2 is going to come up to the top, and 9 is going to go down to the bottom. And then what was negative becomes positive. So a negative 8 is going to become a positive 8. What was a negative 2 is going to become a positive 2. Okay. And then we're just trying to find, this will be our inverse, right? The inverse is 1 over the determinant times that little swaparoo, if you will. I don't know why I'm calling it that today, but that's what we're calling it today. Now we're going to do scalar multiplication. So half of 2 is 1. Half of 8 is 4, half of 2 is 1, and half of 9 is 4.5. So this is our A inverse. Okay. All right, now look at letter B. I'll let you try this one first. Find the determinant first, right? So go ahead and find your determinant. All right, let's take a look. Multiply here, you get a negative 30, and then we subtract. Multiply here, you get a negative 30. So negative 30 plus 30 means the determinant of our, oh, sorry, I wrote A. This is matrix B. My apologies. So our determinant is 0. What does that mean? That means this does not exist, right? If your determinant is 0, it can't happen because we would plug it in under our 1, and 1 divided by 0 does not work. So when you get a determinant of 0, there is no inverse, okay? It does not exist. Okay, next one. This one says to solve the matrix by hand. What's the first thing you're going to do here? If you said subtract, you're correct. We want to get this matrix out of here. Okay, so we're going to subtract that whole matrix from both sides of our equation. I'm just going to write it on the one side though. So we're subtracting 1, 2, -1, and -4. So when we do that subtraction, we end up with, so it's -6 minus 1 is a -7. Then it's 10 minus 2 is 8. 5 minus a -1 is 6, right? Plus a +1. And then -8 minus a -4 would be -8 plus 4, which is a -4. Okay. So right now we have, if we rewrite this, that same matrix that's up at the top times x, right? This is gone now. So really this is a times x equals b. And do you remember what we want to do with that? We want it to be x equals the inverse of a times b, okay? So now, this problem's a little lengthy, right? Now we have to find the inverse of that A matrix, this matrix right here. Okay, so finding the inverse of that, we start with the determinant. So the determinant of that matrix is going to be 8 minus 3. So that's going to be 5. Okay, now we do 1 over the determinant times, and here's where we do our little swaparoo. So 4 here, 2 down here, a +3 and a +1. Now, if you recall, this is where you kind of have to stop and not do what you tend to want to do, right? We don't want to multiply by 1/5 because we're going to get 4/5 and 1/5 and 3/5 and 2/5 when we do that. So instead, we're going to put our B matrix in here and we're going to multiply first the matrices, and then we can multiply by 1/5. So this was -7, 8, 6, and -4. Okay, so let's do matrix multiplication here. This is going to be top row, first column. Oh, get my pen back. So 4 times the -7 is -28, plus 6 times 3 is 18. Then top row, second column, so 4 times 8 is 32. 3 times a -4 is a -12. Okay, now we go second row, first column. So 1 times -7 is -7. 2 times 6 is 12. And then last one, second row, second column. So 1 times 8 is 8. 2 times -4 is -8. And then we're going to simplify that. So that is going to be -28 plus 18, so -10. -7 plus 12 is 5. 32 plus a -12 is 20. And 8 plus a -8 is 0. And now look how nice it is to multiply that by 1/5. So this is your X matrix. This is what we're trying to isolate, right? That's this. We just did the inverse times B. So this becomes 1/5 times -10 is a -2. 1/5 times 20, so 20 divided by 4, or 5 essentially rather, is 4. 1/5 times 5 is 1, and 1/5 times 0 is 0. And that is your answer. Good stuff, huh? Okay, calculator. This one's gonna be a little bit tricky for me to show you, but I'm gonna speak it to you. So don't get distracted talking to your neighbor, because I won't be able to know that you need me to stop and go over something. If you get stuck, ask your neighbor after we've tried it out, okay? Because we don't want to make them not get it too, but we'll try and make this as crystal clear as possible. So if we're going to find an inverse with our calculator in fraction form, the first thing you want to do is click second matrix. Okay. Where do you go next? You're going to arrow over to edit. Okay. And then just click enter, because you should be on A. You might already have a 3x3 in there. I still have a 3x3 in there from the other day. If not, you're going to hit 3, enter, 3, enter, so that you get a 3x3 matrix. And now you're going to put those numbers in. So we have 2, enter, 0, enter, 1, enter, 1, enter, 3, enter, -1, enter, 0. Oh, you guys. 7th period. Remember how my calculator kept quitting on me? It just did it again. And this is the only calculator I have. Okay, I'm just gonna have to talk you through without doing it for real on my calculator and hope it works out. So you should have all of those numbers put in on your calculator. And then what you're gonna do from there, I gotta think through this now because I don't have the calculator sitting in front of me anymore. Once you have all those numbers put into your matrix A, you're gonna go second quit, okay, and that will clear your screen. And then you're gonna go second, and then the X to the -1, which says matrix right above it, right? So you're selecting matrix. And then just hit enter, because that will select matrix 1, which is matrix A. So on your screen right now, you should be seeing this, I believe. And then you're gonna hit second. Nope, sorry, take it back. Don't hit second. If you hit second, hit it one more time. That will undo it. You don't need to hit second. You're gonna hit, once you have matrix A in there, you're just gonna hit the button that looks like this. So now it should look like this on your screen, right? Okay, then hit enter. And you should get a whole bunch of big numbers, or not big numbers, but long numbers. From here, we need to turn it into fraction form. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna type in math, and then just hit enter, because it should be on right now the one that says fraction, right? So math, enter, and then I believe you need to hit enter one more time. And you should end up with, if you plugged it all in right, these as your inverse. It should be 5/12, 1/6, 1/4, -1/12, 1/6, -1/4, and then 1/6, -1/3, and -1/2. Okay, that should be your inverse. Here's what I want you to do. If you did not get that, I'm going to ask the sub to pause real fast and just check if anyone needs a second to talk to a neighbor and make sure that you've got the buttons figured out. So those of you that know what you're doing, can you talk through the ones, the people that maybe struggled to get it? That would be awesome. So take a second, go ahead and pause the video, and then once everyone is comfortable again, we can start up again. All right. We're going to move on to number 6. Sorry, number 6 kind of formatted funny in the PDF. That's just a system, okay? So setting up the system, remember there is a true-false section on the quiz that talks about some of these ideas. I just want to make sure everyone knows what everything is called so that you're clear on it. So when we write this as a matrix, our first matrix uses these numbers. Tell your neighbor what those numbers are called. Yes, it is a coefficient matrix, right? This is your coefficient matrix. So you have 7, 1, -2, 2, 3, -4, 1, -5, and 6. Okay, that's your coefficient matrix. Then you have this next one. Tell your neighbor what this one's called. This is X, Y, and Z, and that is your variable matrix. And then you have your last one, and that is from these numbers. So -14, 35, and -74, and that is your constant matrix, okay? So now from here, what you're gonna do, oh, this is gonna be a real challenge without, let me see if I can get my calculator working. 1 second. Okay, cross your fingers, we're gonna give it a go. So remember, this is A times X equals B, right, is what we're looking at. When we solve this for X, Y, and Z, we need to set it up as X equals the inverse of A times B. So here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna plug in your matrix A into your calculator, your matrix B into B in your calculator, and then eventually you're just gonna type this into your calculator and it will calculate it for you, okay? I'm gonna try to do that along with you right now. It might kick me out, but we'll see what we get. All right, so first thing you're gonna do, second matrix, and feel free to work ahead if you know what you're doing here. Arrow over to the right to edit, and then hit enter. Okay, we want a 3 by 3, so 3, enter, 3, enter, and then we're gonna type that in. So it's gonna be 7, enter, 1, enter, -2, enter, 2, enter, 3, enter, -4, enter, 1, enter, -5, enter, and 6, enter. Okay, so you should have your matrix there. Then go up to the top again, go second, quit. Second mode is your quit. Then we're gonna go again. We're gonna do matrix B now. So second matrix, arrow over to edit, and now hit the number 2 or arrow down to B. Okay, this one is a 3 by 1. So 3, enter, 1, enter, and now we're putting in -14, enter, 35, enter, -74, enter. Okay, and now we're gonna quit out of that again. So second mode or second quit is what you're doing. Now you should see a blank screen on your calculator. I mean, you might have old stuff on there, but you've not typed anything in yet. Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go second matrix, and now select A, just hit enter, or the number 1 would be fine. Then go to that X to the -1 button, right? This button. Okay, and you're gonna click on that. And now it should say the inverse of A on your screen. And then times, and now go second matrix, and now hit the number 2 because we want to select matrix B. Okay, and now hit enter, and you should see the answer matrix there. And your answer should be, if you did it correctly, you should see this matrix: 5, 3, sorry, not 5, -5, 3, -9. Okay, if we're naming it as a point, it would be -5, 3, -9. I'm not as picky about you writing it that way, but that will be your X and your Y and your Z. Okay, so that is that worksheet. And then I just want to talk through a couple quick things with you. One of those things I kind of mentioned earlier, but I just want to make sure you're clear. Whenever we have an identity matrix, it will be 1s in the diagonals, 0s everywhere else, right? So if it's a 3 by 3, it would look like this. If it's a 4 by 4, right? So 2 by 2, 3 by 3, 4 by 4. Those are all identity matrices. Can anyone think of what else we call these matrices? A 2 by 2, a 3 by 3, a 4 by 4? They are all square matrices, right? A square matrix has the same number of rows as it does columns. We talked a bunch about the names of our different matrices, right? So coefficient, variable, constant. Think up here, right? It said find the inverse of the matrix. Does every matrix have an inverse? This would say no, right? Because it doesn't exist there. So keep that in mind. And I think we will leave it at that. Okay. Assuming you have plenty of time right now, you should give yourself about 25 minutes for the quiz, I would say. Maybe 30. We'll say 30 minutes for the quiz. So assuming you're not at the 30 minutes from the end of the class period mark right now, which I don't think you'll be, I'm going to have you check your homework. The answers are in Canvas under the 12.3b, 12.4b assignment. There's an answer key there. So check your answers. If there's anything from that homework that you did not know how to do, now is your chance to ask someone around you that you know does understand this stuff for a little bit of help. So I'll give you a few minutes right now to just talk to your neighbor, work with a neighbor if you have any questions, and then you guys can start the quiz after that. Any time you have left after that is just your time. Use it as a study hall. You've got plenty of finals to study for. You've got plenty of stuff to get ready to get wrapped up right now, I'm sure. So if you have time after the quiz, do something productive. Don't be a distraction to the people still taking the quiz, please. And then Friday, we will review for the test. And then Monday is the test. So keep that in mind. If you have any questions, I will answer all those questions on Friday. I should be in school on Friday because my husband should be around on Friday. So if I have sick kids, he should be able to stay home with them. So plan on me on Friday. Lord willing that I'm not sick by then. All right. Good luck on the quiz. Oh, and don't forget to submit this assignment as well. So go ahead and submit and then get ready for your quiz.